Today we count around the world only 87 pieces of Ware extant that are heirloom pieces, basically passed over the ground generation by generation. And of the 4 pieces that have survived in private hands, this is the absolute finest. And it's got an incredible, the tactile quality of it. It almost sort of melts in your hand when you hold it. It's incredible. I think the whole question of the glaze composition during the Song Dynasty to make roux, the idea that agate was introduced, that's something that is, I would say, mostly mythology. We don't know for sure, and I think that all the sort of glaze analysis so far has not really proven that agate was used in the glaze. So this is something I think is a sort of connoisseur's belief, but is not really based on scientific analysis of the roux glazes. The last example that came up on the market in 2012. We presented it with an estimate of 60 million Hong Kong dollars, 8 million US, and it fetched back then about 210 million Hong Kong dollars. That example was slightly different. There's a certain range with roux ware. The last example that we presented had a slightly more opaque, milky color to it, with a very, very white crackle. The present example is very, very typical of the finest roux, with that extremely glossy, bluish-green crackle, layered crackle, almost like ice. That's basically the glaze pooling on the side, on the interior of the glaze, where the sort of body meets the side. So that is what's happening, is the glaze getting a little bit thicker and creates this sort of bluish aura. It's the thickness of the glaze. And this is something that a lot of the greatest collectors of Chinese art in the world and some of the greatest private museums are lacking. For example, in the Guanyao Washer in the 14th century, in that particular book, they say that the most desirable glaze is one without crackle, opaque. But of course, throughout the 20th century, connoisseurs have come to like this particular glaze, which is sort of dense and layered and glossy. So I mean, it really is a question of taste. Now, bottom line is, with roux, you can't really pick. There's only a few examples extant, and this is one of them, and it's the finest in private hands. I think this is absolutely good enough for the greatest collectors, greatest museums in the world.